Good evening. I'd like to call this regular board meeting of the month of August to order at 6 o'clock. Invocation and pledges.
Yes, so good evening, board. Wasn't an exciting August of 2022 as we prepare to get the year started. To start off our board meeting, I'd like to invite Mr. Roger Campos to please lead us in the invocation followed by the pledge of allegiance.
Thank you. Dear Lord, I pray that you guide us always. Thank you for every seat that has been filled here today. For each mind and heart that fill the presence of this room, we thank you. Satisfy the needs that need to be met during this meeting. Strengthen us as we make tough decisions. Please guide us so that this meeting can be productive. Let us be effective and decisive. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Mr. Campos.
Thank you, sir.
Roger. Okay, recognitions. No recognitions for this meeting. Is that still true? The highlight of the night, public comments.
Yes, sir.
I heard we had one.
Sorry.
Yay, welcome back. I'm so excited to be here, like in real life, in person. So, good evening, Mr. President, board members, Dr. Versta, senior staff. Thank you for allowing me to be here today. For those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Jessica Aragon. I am the president of our Southwest TSTA NEA Association here at Southwest ISD. I'm also a second grade teacher at Sun Valley Elementary. I'm also a parent and a community member here at Southwest, so woo! So we're really excited for this year to get started, this new year, and to join forces with you guys to build the best Southwest ISD we can for everyone, especially our students and our community members. They are our heart. And as we know, with our slogan, we are Southwest, we want to be sure that we put that out there to every single body and person that is a part of our Southwest ISD community. And of course, we want to say and talk about all the great things that are happening here in our district. We are one of the best, I think, maybe, because this is where my home is. But I do feel that you guys do a lot of things to make things happen, make really good things happen, especially our compensation plan. Woo! Everyone's excited and happy about that. Our Southwest ISD auditorium, which was a great, I know it was hot for you guys. I watched the live, but sorry I wasn't able to make it that day. And then also our overall B rating. I mean, come on, what does that say about our educators and the people who really are in the classrooms and making those progressions with all of our students? So I think that's amazing. It's awesome to see. And I think everyone's noticing us, which I think is awesome. And as we start the new year, I just want everyone to remember and think about all of our stakeholders and their purpose for this district. We strive to work hand in hand with you to build a stronger relationship and take the time to understand each other and have those conversations. Sometimes they might not be the conversations we want to hear or talk about, but they need to be spoken, only because for us to work together, for our communities to grow, for our students to thrive, I think it's very important for that to happen. So on that note, I'd really like to thank you for your time, allowing me to be here. I really am so glad to be here back in person and seeing everybody. We're at new teacher orientation too. It was just good seeing all these faces. So we're really excited about that. But for all of our students, our community members, and our employees, I really want to thank you guys for everything that you do for us. And again, we are Southwest, and we're glad that we're a part of it too. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we end the meeting now?
But can we just say ditto?
Okay. Consent agenda.
I move.
You've had that before you. Any item need to be pulled?
No, sir, Pete already moved.
Pete, you made a motion?
Yes, sir.
Do we have a second? You have a second? Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Items of information, construction update. Make it a good one.
No, sir, we don't have any that we're gonna update today.
What?
You know that, that's a good one.
Woo!
Monthly tax
Try
report.
to one for employee of the month.
I'm gonna spend most of the time on the tax report now. We, you know, we budget every year about 98.5% of the collection rate, and right now we're at 98.1 as of July, so we're pretty much on mark when we get to the collection rate that they use, so we're pretty excited about that. We're doing well as far as collection rate.
Good to hear. Financial report. Anything to say on that, Brandon?
No, sir.
Okay, board members, you've had that, and the investment report. Any questions?
No, sir.
Report on gifts and bequests. Anything you wanna bring out on that, Brandon?
No, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay, any questions? Thank you. Enrollment report. Lloyd, you wanna touch on that?
We were seeing an uptick of enrollment in our younger students, our PK, which is a really great thing. We are on target for the way we ended last year, and we think that we're definitely going to pick up some enrollment numbers in the district and folks coming back, more normalcy. So stay tuned, but we think as we get into September, we'll be able to bring the board. Obviously, we're gonna have to go through our no-shows and clean up our list. But we think in September, we're gonna be able to bring some information that we're growing compared to September of last year as well. So, it's exciting to see those numbers start to creep back up.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Any questions on that, board?
No,
Review of purchases over 50,000. Have that before you. Any questions there? Calendar events, page 176. 173. Stuff happening. Budget and tax rate update. Brandon, I know you want to speak to this.
Yes, sir. I'll keep it brief today because I know that, probably messing with your radio. I know we've been working on this for a while now, getting there. You know, August 30th is our target date to get a budget passed for the 22-23 school year. At the same time, we will need to be passing a tax rate, set forth for next year's taxes. And so I'm gonna kind of cover some of the highlights because we're gonna spend a lot of time that day really covering our different programs, our different campus budgets at that meeting. So the agenda is to talk about our assumptions, what I'm using, the data that I'm using, starting to get finalized, sort of starting to come together. The three budgets that the board will approve by policy is going to be the general fund budget, which is our largest budget. It's pretty much the operational budget that runs the district. The child nutrition budget that Winston sets forth is one of our bigger budgets that's outside of the general fund. And then our debt service budget, which is basically our mortgage payment. Talk a little bit about ESSER funds and where we're at. We really spent some time on certified values to talk about the defeasance that I'm gonna ask the board to approve tonight. And then really just talk about, I have to put in there, it's required for our first rating. It's one of the indicators that we keep our superior rating. Is I'm gonna talk about the funding lag when we look at the new property values. And I'll explain that, but I gotta say that because that has to be on record. So assumptions. So we're looking at what, and it's still projections, but based on data that we're getting in, so it's pretty cool at the beginning of the year to start seeing what registration looks like. We really won't know until we have students and seats next week and get good data. So I still have some time to kind of look at this, but we're, you know, and at the same time, it's a yearly process. So we staffed and looked at campus budgets and budgets for departments in different areas based on that 13-4-23. This is kind of our best guesstimate on, estimate on what we think is gonna happen on our campuses. I will say we're still down. We're still, you know, the demographic studies is gonna take a little while to get there based on what's happening. The goal is to get back to that 94%, 93.9% ADA mark that we had back in 18-19. If you remember in COVID, it actually went up during the first year when we had asynchronous learning, because people could mark kids at or here even if they're at home. But last year, you know that we struggled with ADA, and there was a lot of different variables on that. But the goal of the district, especially in targeted areas, is to get the ADA back because of the revenue loss that we did sustain because of that lower ADA. So projection, I'm using the number of 12.4 as the big number in the formula. for the value to get basically the basic school allotment, and then from there, all our special populations. Our certified value as of July 25th was 5.7 billion, which is a huge increase, which was tremendous for us, but it's also tremendous across the state. I think the state average was 17% across the state, the whole state of Texas, which is still huge. I know ours was really large when we were part of that puzzle. And then there you go, the 98.5% that I talked about makes it relevant of where we're going to be next August when we collect our taxes. Like I said, the 3 budgets that I'm going to ask you to approve at the final board meeting in August will be those 3 budgets. You will approve it by function, so that means we break it down by the different functions, and when you look at your budget amendment that I put in every month, anytime we change those, that's what I'm asking y'all to approve, because y'all approve the initial budget by function, and that's like function 11's instruction, function 12, and 13, 14, all the way to 36 to 51. Those all mean different things, but when we get to the regular board meeting on the 30th, I'll go over those. At the 30th board meeting, I'm going to be asking you to approve the no new revenue rate, the voter approval tax rate, and then our 2022 tax rate, which I'll go over that tonight. We have the board meeting set in our notice. It's posted for 5:30 on August 30th. We'll have a public hearing for the board, the budget and the tax rate, and then we'll have a ESSER at 5:45, and then a regular board meeting, which will adopt the board, the budget and the tax rate. Sorry. So, looking at general fund, working through the revenue. If you look up here, here's your 21-22. This is what we're coming out of. Based on the data that we have, because we've got pretty clean data now, we've done our sub-repeat submission. Our budget ended at 125 million, and going into next year, based on the projections, that's going to actually increase. So you can see the difference, though, is if you look at state revenue is going to go down. So we're going to go from 72.1 to 67,700,000. And the reason for that is you can see that our M&O collections are going up because our values went up. And so you're going to see that we're going to collect more taxes, and this is the part I talked about, the funding lag. In the past, if your property values went up, the state would not know that till a year later. So you got your foundation, and then you still got your tax money. And so it was like a good benefit. It was like a good a little kick to the budget. But a lot of districts were losing value, and when they started losing value, the state didn't realize it either, and so they weren't helping out. And so that became an issue for any of the districts that were losing funds and losing value. And it was really like the oil, when the oil industry was going down, those school districts that were dependent on that value lost a lot of value, but the state wasn't helping them. So they really lobbied for this to be changed. The data that I use, average daily attendance, like I said, is 12.4. And I want to point out the certified value is 5.7 billion as of July 25th. But the appraisal district gives us where our certified values are after they go through all the protests. They get to a point in July 25th, there's still 10% of those protests that they haven't worked out. So there's still going to be protests going on, even right now and going into next year. And so I look at our trend data, and that's why I come up, and I use 5765, which is a little bit lower than our certified value, because our certified value will change over time. And that allows me to know exactly, and I can kind of project how much taxes we really take in. And so, other revenue, so you have the M&O taxes, you have the foundation payment, you have your debt service, but there's some other revenues that we received, and so we received about 5.3 million, that's extra, that's not from the state, it's not from taxes. It's actually like our delinquent taxes that we get a lot of that from delinquent taxes. We get a lot of revenue. We used to get a lot of revenue in investments. Right now, that's been really low because there hasn't been much to invest in. That's changing, so I don't want to anticipate too much. But we used to get about $800,000 in investments before COVID and before the market. And so if that starts to go up, that's one benefit of rates going up. It actually allows us to invest more, our fund balance in those types of accounts that we have money sitting around. And then other revenues. These are like this revenue source here is like our E-rate. Our E-rate funds, you know, we all pass E-rate, we go out, we bid it out, and they send us a check back for all our technology that we put into place. We get some revenue from pre-K for essay. I know a lot of people say, well, y'all should make a lot of money in athletic activity, but it's only really about $250,000 And that should increase a little bit. It's been about 200, so I'll put a little bit more in there because I know we're opening an aquatic center, so we may generate some revenue there with our clubs and different things that we might implement at that place. And then our Medicaid SHARS program, this is our reimbursement that we receive when we submit reimbursements for our students that receive any kind of Medicaid benefits, and then indirect costs. And so that's about 5.3, and then there's a flow through from TRS that we paid out. It basically flows through. It's about 7.1 million. We pay that in, and it's part of the TRS benefit that we pay for our employees. So the proposed budget at this point, and so you can see the total revenue, and you take all three of those revenue sources. I'm trending, and this is pretty close to being finalized on the revenue side. Give or take, looking at some of our own internal revenue sources, is 141 million. And you can see that's a little bit different than what our actual expenditures are. So right now, on our personnel budgets, we're still working through a lot of the stipend workbook. We're still making some changes with some account codes and moving people around. We're looking at pre-K. But right now, we're looking at about $119 million just in personnel, human capital budget. And that's including the raises and the staff that we've had to add, like at the aquatic center and the special ed department and on some of our campuses. So that's putting us at about a $5.3 million deficit. And I don't know if you recall back in spring, it was like 10. But what we've done is we've moved pretty much any central office staff that's not federally funded into ESSER. And so it's important because it's going to help the budget now. But at some point, this group here, this 5.3 million that's now in ESSER 2, will have to come back on the books probably in the next 2 years. And so I want to gradually start moving them back after next year, because after the following year, they're going to have to be back. So that can really put a damage to the budget if we don't have a strategy. Additionally, these are the staff that we added at campuses that we gave each campus to have ESSER positions. So that's 2.9 that somehow has to come off the books too. And so I didn't want to point that out because we're dealing with a deficit, and then in the future we have this cliff here that everybody's been talking about that we need to either grow really fast, have great ADA, or take a look and see what we can do to mitigate that problem. Child nutrition. One of the strangest thing is child nutrition's budget this year has flourished, and it looks like it's going to flourish again next year. They served a lot of students. We were able to use the summer seamless, so they got a good rate from the feds. So Winston's group has really done a great job with his budget. So he has some strict rules on his fund balance, so he's actually putting a lot of money in the fund balance. So he's going to bring some, he'll bring some fund balance items that we need to purchase because he needs to spend that down. So we'll probably do some new serving lines, some things in the cafeterias, and upgrade some coolers and things because we're required. He can't just be sitting on federal funds in his fund balance. He's able to hold so much, but we're going to have to be strategize around that. So his budget's looking really strong, which is really good for us. In the past, it wasn't. The only thing that's an outlier that I took out of there because I'm going to work with the auditors because it may hit this year and not next year, is because of our ADA loss, the state overpaid us, and I've been talking about this, 6.7 million. And so we'll probably owe that to the state, and it'll probably be reclassed to this year when the auditors get here. And so that may take a fund balance hit for this fiscal year. So we're still working with the auditors. I'd rather do it this year than have it on top of next year. And so we'll work through that, and I'll keep you informed on how that's going to play out. But this is basically the settled up process for this fiscal year. Because the state paid us, based on a projection, which we came in a lot lower than expected, and they overpaid us. So, just to kind of reiterate how we're dealing with our deficits, we have our ESSER funds. We still have ESSER 2. As of today, August 8th, we have about 6.3 left. If you noticed, I had about 5.3 million in next year's salaries for that, so that budget's going to go away pretty fast. And it's got to be done by the end of next year anyways. And then in ESSER 3, we have about 19 left. We have some things in the books that are coming up. We have staff coming out of there, so we probably have about 3 million of staff coming out of that as well. And then I know the board passed the retention stipend, which we'll pay that out of this budget. And then we have some other things like that we're purchasing for CNI. We still will have our playgrounds that are coming out of this fund and some different items. And so we'll spend some of that next year, and then we'll have one more year with some funds left. Hopefully we'll have about 10 million left after next year to help us deal with the following fiscal year. And at the end of the day, we still have our fund balance, and this is where we are. And I say 53 million, this is where we are if we spent everything that we've asked the board that we've come to the board for approval. And so if we spent everything we had, this is what, the unassigned fund balance would come down to 53 million. So we do have $79 million to help us deal with the next 2 years. And it's to strategize to get through the next 2 years, but then that third year is where we're gonna have to be really strategic, and hopefully the state will step in and do something, or the federal government, but we need to be prepared that if they don't, that we have a strategy to deal with it. Now, certified property values. This is the slide that I have to have you and make sure that I show you so we can get our superior rating. And this is the same thing I said about when you have a rise in values. In the past, the state used to not recognize it till the following year, so they wouldn't mess with your foundation payment. But now they know your value, so now they're adjusting our foundation payment. So there's not an extra bump. There's not an extra because we got extra taxes. We don't get that extra funds anymore. But it also helps the districts that lost value. So if you lose value, the state gives you more money because they realize it. This one, I know it's a little hard to see, but this is part of the notice. One thing I want to point out to the board is, if you look at the average market value of our residents, last year was $158,000. A home in Southwest ISD was valued at $158,000. This year it's $198,000. So if you own a home in Southwest ISD, and we have a lot of new homes, so this is part of the factor. If you go into some of the new neighborhoods, those homes aren't selling for $150,000. So all these new homes, and plus the value of people that own homes, they're seeing a huge increase in their market value. And this is happening across the state of Texas. But I wanted to share that with you. And you're going to see, and I wanted to bring this up because if you look at in the way you calculate is you take your rate times, the value of the home, and then you divide it by 100 and you get how much you pay in taxes. And so if you look at last year, based on our tax rate and the value, the average taxpayer on a value of a $100 home, or not $100 home, but $100 per value based on that value, paid $1,700 in taxes. Now, because of the value and the freeze that they have on the homestead that they put into place that passed, the average citizen in Southwest ISD is only going to have to pay on $126,000 for their taxes or value, and our tax rate's going down. And so you can see the tax rate, our tax rate, and the appraised value based on this, they're going to end up paying less taxes. Okay, so I know it's going to be hard to understand that, but our tax rate, we're lowering it. Why I'm saying this is because the language is kind of absurd that they make you. So when we get to the tax rate part, I'm going to say that we're raising taxes because the language has to say that, but in the end, it's going to show a negative 26. So they're actually, it looks like we're lowering taxes, but we're not. It's confusing. But at the end of the day, we are lowering our tax rate, and the homestead that was put into place instead of 25 to 40. So somebody that owns a home last year was paying on a $125,000 home with our tax rate, paid $1,700, and now the same home, even though it went up in value because the homestead is only paying on 126, and we lowered the tax rate, which they're paying $1,694. So they're actually, we're lowering their taxes by $26. But the way the language is, you're going to see that we're going to have to show that we're raising taxes because the homestead and all that doesn't go into play. And I'll get to that.
And are you able to put a statement on there that we're not actually lowering?
We cannot. We have to put the statement that says we are, even though that we're lowering our rate, and then the data shows that it's lowering taxes. It's just the language that the legislators have put into play. And that goes into like everything, especially in the bonds and all that. Even though you're not raising taxes, you have to put the language in there. It's strange. And you'll see it, and you're going to be puzzled. But I just wanted to be out in front, and I wanted to show you kind of how the calculation works. But the language is difficult to understand. So the proposed tax rate that I will be bringing to you all is, we got compressed because our values were too high. So we got compressed to the lowest at the state of Texas on the M&O side. So 0.8046 is the lowest that you could go on the compression, and a lot of districts had to do that. But remember, we had done a TRE, so we had pennies and golden pennies and pennies, so we were able to add 10 cents back to that. So our M&O tax rate is going to be 0.909. Our interest in sinking last year, this year, this current year is 43 cents. We're lowering that a penny. And so you'll see that we're decreasing the tax rate to $1.33, which is, last year rate was $1.37. So we're lowering the tax rate, so it is decreasing, but you have to understand people's values are skyrocketing, and they're not gonna see it that way when they get their tax bill, because it's just the way it happens. Because it's like chasing values versus the tax rate, and it's not keeping up pace. So, that being said, on the INS side, just for future preparedness and making sure we have building capacity, it's a perfect opportunity to pay off more debt. We do have about $250 million that we still owe. Because our debt payment next year is scheduled to be $19 million, $19.2. The board, I'm asking the board to approve a defeasance tonight, and this will allow us to still lower our INS tax rate to 42 cents, drop it a penny to help taxpayers, but allow us to continue to pay off more debt so that we can build for the future and get ready when we need to open a new elementary, a new middle school, so that we go to the public and we're able to tell the public we're not raising taxes. So we're keeping, basically making capacity so that when we go out for bond, that we can actually go out because we can afford it, and at the same time, trying to give some relief to our taxpayers. And so just really, that'll be on the agenda under business and finance. So questions on that piece?
Where does the $5 million come from?
The $5 million, because our values went up, and we're using a 42
Okay.
cent,
Yes.
we're really only allowed to make gains for what we owe. So we owe 19.2 next year is our mortgage payment for the year. We will make more than that. We're going to make an
Okay.
additional $5 million on this tax rate,
Mhm.
and we'll take that money and we'll put it towards our debt. And it's a good strategy. If you can't do refundings, this is how you pay off more debt.
Because of
So-
the higher home value.
Correct, for the higher, correct.
So is it just like paying the principal?
It's like, yeah, it's like paying off more principal or more, it gets rid of your interest. Just like you do a refunding, we're doing it ourselves this time. So instead of raising 19 million, we're gonna raise over 24 million, and we don't get to keep it, we have to put it towards our debt, which is a strategy to help us get that debt down. So if we need to go out for bond, and we need to do things, we're ready for it. So this is what it looks like. This is what you'll approve. This is pretty much done. Is pretty much what we're getting in our taxes. And then I know I talked about state aid. This used to be almost 50-50, 60-40. If you remember the days where the state pretty much paid most of our debt.
Yeah.
Our values have gone so high that, I mean, we're only getting 300,000 next year for all our debt. And it's just
What's the
because of,
percent?
yeah, just because what's happening on the value side. So, last steps coming up. We'll come back at the August 30th meeting. We'll be a lot more in debt at the public hearing. We'll talk about campus budgets, program budgets, giving you an idea of where we're spending our funds. I will say that we've had some increases in our facilities and maintenance, our transportation. Tonight you'll see we'll have some in our property insurance. So there's been inflation's hitting us as a district too, not just people in their lives. It's also it's cost us a little more, so budgets had to be increased in certain areas. But we've looked in areas where we could cut and get rid of some of the budgets that we don't tend to use a whole lot of. But I will say that we're still juggling that right now and still looking at that data. And we'll bring it back, and then at the next, on the 30th, we will hopefully get a budget passed and a tax rate passed, and then we can move forward with next year and get started.
Brandon, what percent of the debt does the state pay for us now?
Oh,
About
it's probably less than, I would,
10?
not even 10%.
5?
Yeah,
I know
I would be more like 2%, 3%. I'd have to calculate
So
it, but
basically
it's
nothing.
300,000 is pretty
Yeah.
much out of the 19 million that we really
Out
owe.
of 19 million.
Yes, I mean, it's not, I don't even know if it's a
not
percent.
negligible.
Correct, yeah, because our values, I mean, we've doubled, almost tripled our values in time.
Okay.
Questions for me?
Going back to the revenue, where you said the 88 is 98 point, or 93.8, I think you said, is that a break-even point for us? Or is that something that we're just trying to meet?
Well, based on, the break-even point, I would say no.
No, okay.
Because at 93.9%, I'm still gonna be $5 million short. So if it's lower than that, let's say it's 1% lower, I'm probably gonna be $6 million short. So If our ADA is 98%, then our deficit, that deficit budget shrinks. So like I get an extra $1.5 million, $2 million. So really, it's not a break-even point. It's a break-even point on adopting this budget.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's even then, even if we got 99%, we're still going to have a deficit budget.
And is
Just-
there any way we can communicate to the community about how the taxes are getting lowered so they can understand? how-
We are only allowed to post on our website the verbiage they give us, and right now there's a notice. So when you're looking at this document, I brought this document specifically because this is the document we have to put on our website. It's actually posted now, and it shows this. But also when I adopt a tax rate, you're gonna see the verbiage is the language is gonna
Yeah,
be different.
it's-
Why
And it's
do they
gonna
do
look
that?
like, it's
Why?
just part of the statute, and there's no way around it. Because I can't really explain it, and I'll bring in kind of like because I got the law and the statute, and that's the best way I can
Yeah.
explain it. Even though we lowered the tax rate, and based on this value, their taxes are gonna be lower, the language is gonna say we're increasing taxes. It's gonna say we're increasing taxes by negative $26.37. So unless you can work through that.
see.
Oh, see what you're saying?
Yeah, I see.
Correct.
It's so
So,
wrong.
I mean, that's just the way
I
it's gonna say.
understand.
Yeah.
So you hope that the constituent understands that it's,
Correct.
being that it's a negative,
Negative.
that it's not an actual
Correct,
increase.
correct.
Got it.
But it's getting past the
Math.
language, it's
Yeah.
caused the
I got
conflict.
you. I
There's still
understand.
gonna be a lot of questions.
Correct.
Well, we have to explain to
Yeah.
them, right? That it's
The-
negative, so
The
that.
best thing they can go in is that they got two reliefs, our tax rate's going lower, and then they got the $40,000 homestead instead of the $25,000 that was passed back in May. But other than that, their values may have skyrocketed so much, they're not gonna see that relief.
Yeah.
Because if their values went up, this is an average, but their values may have went up a lot more than that. So the 40,000 might not have helped them. They still got an increase on their taxes. Okay,
Thank you, Brian.
thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Southwest ISD after-school programs.
Yeah, so this evening, we're gonna have Ms. Victoria Galleta share with us some of the process that we've gone through and a celebration also for our community. So we have heard the need from our community, which is the need for some after-school programs in elementaries that currently do not have an after-school opportunity. So we do have Challenge, which has provided after-school opportunities for 8 elementaries. And so now Victoria's gonna share with us some good information.
Okay, good evening and thank you for having me today. I'm just gonna give you some background information about what we like to call in our department the grins and giggles of what we do. The Community Education Department facilitates all these after-school programs that we have. One of them is the After School Challenge Program, and that's a partnership between the City of San Antonio Department of Human Services. And they provide us with funding to pay for staffing. Can you bring that mic forward? It's not
Oh,
a
does it?
room.
Give me
It's
one
not a
of
room.
those for you, because they can't
It's
hear
not a
you.
room.
That's
It's
okay.
just for recording.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It
doesn't speak. Yeah, this is for the recording. You wanna come over here so you can hear you?
It's for looks. So, and you can see that I've given you the handout that explains what the programs do for our kids. It's a vital resource for a lot of our families, especially the families that have gone back to work, and our new families that have moved into the district. We currently completed early registration last week, and we are already at 215 kids. Our max is, that the city has given us is 300. We typically go over that. Pre-COVID, we serviced 387 kids. COVID year, it was already towards the end of the year, so we had, COVID year, we had 243 kids because we were reduced in numbers for safety reasons. And then last year, we had 36 kids. So, and with kids still on the wait list. So it is a very important program for our community. We do we work with the city and they work to keep our rates low. So as you can see here, I'm gonna skip around here, some of the fees that they charge are much lower than some of our programs that are operated more on our north side of our district. But the basic things that are the same is that they operate Monday through Friday, from dismissal till 5:45, and the Y operates until 6. And so we provide services for pre-K through 5th grade. This year is, the Y is going to begin providing pre-K services. We provide services for our special needs students and our McKinney-Vento students, and the YMCA does not. They have limited services for students with special needs. So there is a great need for now, with the growth in the northern part of our district, for a program similar to Challenge. So as you go through here, you'll see the differences in cost, and that is a big factor right now with families, with everything going up. We have tried to come up with a plan that will help the needs of those families. So the YMCA is a monthly or weekly fee that they charge, and it's extremely expensive for us to, for families to afford. So what we have agreed upon is to provide the same type of service for that community, similar to the After School Challenge rates. So we will be starting this program on the 15th of September at Creewell, Lake Country, and Elm Creek. Creewell, Lake Country right now are serviced by the Y. Elm Creek has had no services since the 21st Century program there was like 2005. So, and that was a completely free program because it was granted. So we are looking forward to opening up those two sites, and we're excited about what the response is going to be. Okay, so any questions?
We're looking at having something at every elementary.
Every elementary
At the rate. the
that's
lowest
run by
rate.
Southwest. Yes.
So the Y is out at those two sites?
We're gonna continue to have them there. Eventually, they're gonna be weeded out because parents are going to drop once they find it.
Once they find the better
The only
rate?
advantage that the Y program has is that they operate during early dismissal days. And
During
we
early
won't be
dismissal.
offering services that day because our programs are gonna be run by our teachers.
Okay.
So our teachers are gonna be in service or planning days. So we won't be able to provide services on those days.
So
we'll
the
notify
rates that are
parents in
listed
advance.
here under facility and non-member, those are the new rates?
No, those are
Or
for the
these
Y.
Oh, these are.
They're gonna have both programs for a little while. They're gonna overlap for a short period of time.
Last year, in total, between the two sites, they serviced 45 kids. So the rates, their numbers used to be really high.
They used to be
once
50,
upon a
60
time.
kids.
And now eventually, they were probably gonna make a decision to drop the program because it's not cost effective.
It's very expensive. So, but another difference is that the play program ends at 5:45, whereas the Y ends at 6.
Correct.
That's the only other difference, right? Okay.
So as the board knows too, we're actually working with the county and city for some additional ARPA funds that go towards making the program happen as well. So we anticipate some over $2 million that are going to come towards the district as we get beyond September 1 and complete, well, Francis is an expert at building budgets for them. So when we complete that and turn in our required work, we anticipate at least $2 million more coming in. That's not part of, I don't think, Brandon's presentation today, but that's going to help us do some of these additional things we cannot supplant things that we are doing, but we've talked about using those funds for these programs as well.
Okay.
We are bringing other services into the program as well, that are contracted services that provide everything free. So, the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts, which are there are traditional programs on these campuses, but those are all fee-based, so these kids have to pay every time they go to camp or whatever they're gonna be doing. So our kids get to go free if they're enrolled in our program. So, and then we are looking at, we already have some additional services that are wanting to come in now, that are closer to this area, to the Country Creewell area, that kind of work with Northside, and are unwilling to come out to our bigger areas that have more campuses because it's just too far for them. So we're looking forward to bringing in new activities for them. Delia has big plans on some of the things that we'd like to do, and we're looking forward to it.
Very good. Thank you,
Thank you.
Victoria. Thank you.
Okay, Southwest ISD after school. It's 5 Foot Park logo.
Yes, sir. We've been, since the beginning of Five Foot Park, We've had a few concerns come our way about the mascot not really being as elementary-ish as it possibly could. And so we've worked with it for a while, but we're coming to a point where we'd like to make a change. And so Roger's been working with that. He's going to show, we've been working with senior staff about changing what that logo looks like. And so he's going to go through his presentation.
3 slides, real quick.
What?
I said it's a quick presentation. Thank you. Good evening again, board. How are y'all doing? And I'm here to talk to you about the Spicewood Park logo. So real quick, just to go into what we were working with before. There we go. So that's the original logo. It's been the one that we've used since the beginning of the campus itself was in existence. Like Dr. V mentioned, the logo before was, this is like a consistent feedback that we've gotten, not just 1 year or one principal or one community member. It's been a consistent thing that the logo was a little bit too adult, a little scary. Actually, it had teeth before, but we had closed the mouth to try to make it not as scary. So, but that didn't work also. So the other thing that we revealed, our feedback was that it was really hard for our staff and for our community members to get that brown moss colored look in their shirts, their pins, all their marketing stuff was really hard to find. You go on, to foreign print, things like that. They don't have brown stuff or moss green stuff. So that was kind of a thing that they were really giving us feedback that they needed some help with. So what we wanted to do was that, like Dr. Verstev said, is that we wanted to create a logo that was that all Spicewood community members would be proud of, a friendlier, younger logo. And with this opportunity to change the logo, that's when we also decided that we could also change the colors to make it easier for our marketing to be accomplished that we want to, because as Jenny and I have been working really hard on this, is we're trying to get our brand out there more, and we want to make sure that everybody can participate as well. With that said, the process that we went through is that we actually had some original sketches that were drawn out, pen and paper, that was shared with senior staff. And we kind of went with a really younger look. With that, we received some feedback as well from senior staff that made a couple of changes here and there. So we went ahead and made a few logos in full color with a different color, and we got that recommendation from senior staff that was good to go. We went ahead and sent that over to the principal, and what we did was we conducted a survey for the community. The community then voted on which ones they liked the best. So with the main logo that they chose was 80% of the first place and second place votes. So it was pretty overwhelming.
Let's see it. You killed it.
I'm getting you. I see you.
You already showed it.
It's anticipation.
You killed it. Rubber. Look at the screen.
And then we also got a alternate logo. So that got 64% of the votes. So this is an overwhelming thing. So with that being said, I would like to introduce you to the new logo. And we'll do a play. And wait for it. Wait for it. And there you go.
It's a baby Panther.
It's a baby.
It's too pretty.
So
It's cute.
That's
he's cute.
cute. Yeah.
So the feedback we got, actually, he didn't look as he looked very round-eyed and very like cartoony. So the feedback we got was that maybe the upper grades, the 4th and 5th graders, might not like it much, but once we changed it and gave them a little more of a little bit edge to it, think Simba, Lion King type thing, but it's a panther.
Yeah.
So they really liked this one, and that's the logo that we went with. And as you can see, the new colors are that dark blue, lime green type,
That's
Seattle
nice.
Seahawks type color.
Looks good.
So both of these will be the logos that they'll be using. The one on the left is your main logo. That's the one that got first place, and then the alternate logo is your second place one. And the way that they're designed is that, as you can see, the main one is horizontal, and then the other one is more round. So whatever space recommends, like when we're doing promotions and things like that, they can alternate between the two logos, and that seems to be a good trend that's happening right now. But that's all I have on that. Is there any questions?
Any questions?
I'm really happy that you guys sent that out to the community and got some feedback, and I think that's always a valuable thing. Thank you for
Thank you.
doing that.
I'm done.
Thank you, Roger. Item 7, we'll come back to. After closed session, item 8, KHR. Item A, consider the approval of the new format for student learning objectives.
This is a quick one for us. So we've had the T-tests since back in 2015-16. And one of the aspects that they added to it was a student learning objective. We've had campuses do their own teacher goals and student learning objectives. What we're trying to do is systematize it and create a format for it, so that as we get ready to enter into the teacher incentive allotment program, that we have a formal way of doing all student learning objectives so that we can measure it to make sure that we qualify for that program. So all we did was create a form based on the TEA model that was provided, reduce it down from 4 pages to 2 pages, because nobody needs 4 pages to review. We did 2 pages to make it teacher-friendly and also principal-friendly. And so we just wanted to make sure that we add that to the T-test eval, so that this is now be formalized and we won't have Google Docs and Frontline and all different independent types of goals. We can monitor this goal for everybody.
I move.
Second.
We have a motion and second, the board approve the new student learning objective format to be used with the approved TESS evaluation system. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Business and finance. Consider and act upon the resolution providing for the
Defeasance?
defeasance and calling for redemption. That's what you just talked about.
Yes, sir. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so the recommendation is that, if the board will approve a defeasance to allow the district to pay off some obligations early of up to $5 million. We won't know exactly how much it will be until we collect taxes and see how much because if we don't collect the 98.5, it'll be a little bit less. And so we're asking and recommending the board to allow the district to do a defeasance with the extra INS funds.
I move.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the proposed defeasance resolution. Any questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Brandon. Consider approval of 2022 certified appraisal roll.
Yes, sir. We got our certified values on the 25th of July. Those what we base our budget off of. It's also how the comptroller and the state sets up our budget on the foundation payments. And so I'm asking the board to approve the certified appraisal roll and the taxable value at $5.7,144,849.
I move.
Second.
Yeah.
We have a motion and a second for the 5.7 billion number as read for the Southwest Independent School District appraisal roll for the tax year 2022. Any questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Okay, consider approval of the date for the public hearing to discuss the 2022-2023. That will be on August 30th.
Yes, sir. We recommend the board approve the August 30th at 5:30 to have a public hearing to go over the 2022-23 budget and the proposed 22 tax rate.
I move.
We have a motion, a second. I guess my only question to the board would be, is there anybody other than myself that knows they can't be here that day? So we can make sure we have. Okay, thank you. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Item D, consider approval of the date to finalize the 21-22 planning budget amendment and adopt the budget tax rate. This is the same rate.
Yes, sir. After the public hearing to move into a board meeting to finalize the 21-22 school year budget amendment. Every month we approve the budget amendment. That'll be closing out the fiscal year. And at the same time, adopt the budget and the tax rate.
I move.
Second.
We have a motion, second. Any other questions? Hearing none, all approved, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Item E, consider approval of property casualty and liability insurance for 2022-2023.
Yes, sir. Using our agent Frost, we put out bids on our property, our liability, our casualty, our automobile, our cybersecurity insurance. Some areas we stay pretty steady, but in some areas we've seen an increase, which has been the norm across most districts, most of anybody that has insurance. And so you can see under property, that's where we probably see the biggest increase. We actually added an natatorium, aquatic center, to the property value. It's a tremendous increase, about 24 million added to that value, and then just the market. So we're asking the board to approve the purchase of property casualty and liability insurance, so we're covered for the 22-23 school year at a cost of $1,835,594.
I move.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. See, blood went down.
Yeah, flood.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I did. They're like,
Any questions?
yes.
Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion passes. Thank you. Consider approval of resolution adopting investment policy, strategy, and broker dealer list.
Every year, we're required to review our investment policy and our strategies and our broker-dealer list. We're not making any changes to our strategy. We're not changing our broker-dealer list, and so we don't really have any changes for the new policy. I just wanted to make sure the board gets to see it one more time, and by requirement, we're asking the board to approve the current policy and strategy and broker list.
Second.
Motion and second. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Consider approval of RFP 2122-122 elevator maintenance and repair.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, Thomas Kruger, ladies and gentlemen. I was reading something, I wasn't paying attention.
So our current elevator contract expires August 31st of this year. The district went out with this RFP 2122-122 for a new 3-year contract with 2 additional 1 years to make it a 5-year total. We accepted bids on July 26th. We only received 2 bids from 2 contractors. They ranged from $13,200 to $27,060 for a yearly fee. After going through all the selection criteria and checking references, the district is recommending Prestige Elevator Service LLC as the firm for this contract for a total of $13,200 per year.
Any questions?
I move.
Motion.
Second.
Any second. We have a motion and second, and we approve the elevator maintenance and repair contract between Prestige Elevator Services LLC for a yearly fee of $13,200.
Yes, sir. So we're making an amendment to this. We're passing out a new background. We accepted bids, and originally going through the bid process, the RFP process, we were looking to award a vendor that was overwhelmingly better in price, almost too good to be true. And so because of time, we didn't really have time to really vet it. So Thomas and his group brought in the vendor that we were proposing and met with him yesterday, and really went through the scope of work that's required to maintain our HVACs and respond to any items that we have. And the vendor pretty much admitted that they didn't price the labor costs of the maintenance contract. They didn't price the 24-hour service and the calls that they may need to take at night when there's and so the vendor TDI, that after meeting with them, withdrew their bid.
Brendan, what was just handed to us was a rooftop HVAC.
Correct, and that's what I'm talking about. Yes, sir. So the,
Well, we didn't finish the elevator.
oh, you didn't finish the elevator? Oh, I'm sorry.
We thought y'all.
Not to the elevator.
Yeah,
No. Okay, I apologize.
Brendan, you're okay.
All right.
Okay, we're okay. We have a
What'd you
motion
start
and
me?
a second on the RFP 2122-122 elevator maintenance and repair. Any questions on that item? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, 'cause it scared us, 'cause I looked at the.
No, I apologize, sir.
424.
I was talking to Thomas, making sure we passed out the thing, and I thought y'all were done, waiting on us.
Okay, now we are on the maintenance and
He picked up the
HVAC.
paper and did this one.
Yeah.
Okay, so now it's, the
Correct.
one you just had, we just
The w-
replaced it, the one that was on our.
Correct. And so this was the second vendor that came in, was in second place. The other group withdrew their, yeah, they withdrew their bid because they did not price labor costs.
What they priced was the maintenance, preventative maintenance portion. They did not take into account, there was other sheets in there that I think they missed on the RFP that explained labor to install all parts for anything that breaks throughout the year. We purchase the parts, supply them to them, and they have the labor. They didn't have any of that labor in it. So that's why what was really puzzling to us is they were actually lower than the current contract we had right now on their bid. So we knew something possibly was wrong, so that's why we called them in, and we just didn't want to get into a bad situation for them and the district to start. So they withdrew their bid
So,
this morning.
so the recommendation,
We've used them before?
yes.
Airstream,
Oh, okay.
the company they were providing now as a recommendation is the current contractor.
What are we paying now?
The yearly fee as of last year was 386,000 and some change
Yeah.
there. So it did go up, and we will also be bringing, a year from now, we'll be bringing a change order to add the natatorium AC units onto this contract, so
The
That's not on there
424
now.
does not include the natatorium?
it does not, no ma'am, that is just a upcrease
just
because
the-
of what's going on
Yeah,
in the
more
market.
expensive.
And there's a year warranty.
Yeah, there's a.
Yes, that's why we're not bringing the natatorium until, because we just accepted and put the natatorium on the books on Thursday. So we have a 1-year warranty now that Joris is responsible for covering any issues. And then once that 1-year warranty's up, then we will put them onto this contract on a change order.
So now we're looking for a recommendation.
I move.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second that we accept the maintenance contract for the rooftop HVAC systems for September 1st, 2022 through August 31st, 2025 year, with an additional 1-year extension for $424,999.20. Airstream. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion passes. Okay. Consider approval of change order number 1 for Sun Valley Elementary.
Yes, sir. As you know, Sun Valley Elementary is currently ongoing. We are coming right down to the wire. We do believe that as of Saturday this weekend, they should have everything paved and completed. Hopefully, me and Billy will be there Saturday to make sure that they have everything cleaned up and out of the way for the first day of school. But it has come, we knew going into it, it was going to be a tight project. We also went into the project with a $50,000 contingency allowance with some unforeseen conditions and a few betterment items that we chose to do after the fact. We've exceeded that $50,000 by approximately $17,800. So right now, the request is that the board approve change order number 1 for amount of $50,000 to cover the overage from what we couldn't cover under the contingency. Now, it's, like I said, we've only gone 17,000 over. We're asking for 50 just to make sure that we don't have to come back to you again. However, we don't foresee any more changes or anything that we would need to do, so anything beyond that 17,000 of the 50 will come back to the budget after the fact.
I move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, any questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion passes. Thank you, Thomas. Okay, 2022-2023 stipends. Who's presenting that?
I'm presenting that, sir. So at the last July board meeting, I brought the compensation plan, which included the comprehensive list of all our stipends. Some stipends that weren't included on there yet, because we're still working out some of the amounts, was the Penguin Project stipends. So on your board book, you'll see that the list of the Penguin Project stipends that we'll be implementing this year. And then Currently, we've been working towards getting everybody to 15, and we're not there yet, but I know that we've moved interns and lifeguards to $13. I forgot about the ushers that we use at the theater, when we have theater events, and so I'm asking the board to approve to move them from $11 to $13. And then we have a new stipend, a new grant for dyslexia, that's gonna pay our dyslexia teachers a $2,000 stipend. I wanted to get that approved by the board. And then there was 2 STEM stipends that we have at our elementaries that needed to be increased to make them equitable to the other STEM stipends that we're paying at the elementaries. And so those are the ones that I'm bringing for approval and recommending to the board for approval.
I move.
Second.
There's a motion, a second. Any questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Consider approval of E-rate 26 application and RFP method to secure those.
Yes, sir. This is something we do every year. I know Jeff's here, but we have to submit our application for E-rate first and submit our forms. And so when we do that, we're allowed to go out and, for an RFP for projects that we want to do across the district. We do get reimbursed a percentage if we follow the steps and submit all the proper documentation. So this allows us to submit our application and then begin the RFP process, and then start building our projects and get it on the street and get bids, and then complete the projects and hopefully get reimbursed our percentage that we do every year.
Motion.
I move.
Second.
Did you move? I think
Okay,
Daniel moved, but he's kind of quiet.
So will you second?
I think Pete said.
Okay. I like how everybody's getting along. The board approved the submission of E-rate 26 applications and use the RFP method to secure bids. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
It's that budget stuff now.
Yeah.
Makes everybody sleepy. That's what I heard. Yeah, August.
Item 10, curriculum and instruction. Consider approval of Texas evaluation model for professional school counselors, 3rd edition.
Yeah, so this evening we have Mr. Luis Gonzalez, our Director of Guidance and Counseling. A few years back, TA went ahead and changed the model for school counselors. And so today we want to be able to emulate the same evaluation. This way we have the same outcomes that will be parallel to the new model from the state of Texas.
I move.
Yes, and good evening, and thank you.
Oh, thought you could read.
Thank you, sir. Yes, we cut it short. No, but thank you for allowing us to present this, and of course, to consider the approval, as Ms. Dalila said, for the Texas evaluation model for professional school counselors, also known, and I'll refer to it as TEMC3, just for short. Okay, and so the tool, the TEMC3, is really it's specialized evaluation tool that fairly and consistently appraises our school counselors. It evaluates within the responsibilities related to the comprehensive school counseling program, the program model. So what we're considering is, or what we want to do is to, of course, appraise all Southwest counselors using this tool from elementary through high school. There is a component, or there is a piece for it that allows for assessment at the beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of year. And so this is what it looks like on the top right, left-hand corner. So it very much looks similar to the T-test, which is what we use for our teachers. So our administrators, our appraisers would be very familiar with the look of it and also the performance levels. We currently use an older one that, of course, the rubric is exceeds, proficient, needs improvement. Well, we would be going into this one with the performance levels of the distinguished, accomplished, proficient, developing, and improvement needed. And with this piece also, they require that artifacts are also provided. And so this has a bigger accountability, or a bigger piece that we want to show that proof that what we're doing and that we're following our state model. And so this here, the accountability throughout the year. So it allows the counselors to actually set goals, to do a self-assessment at the beginning of the year, and then at the mid-year piece that allows them and the appraiser and the counselor to actually review their evidence and see where they are now as far as where they set their goals and where they would be leading towards the tail end of the year. And then, of course, at the end of the year, the meeting or the evaluation would serve to discuss the performance data and discuss any strength or any weaknesses that happen with the program, and therefore improvements and setting goals for the following year. So the TEMC3, an overview. So it does have 10 domains that it assesses, but we are proposing that for year one, we do not, of course, go, and that's the recommendation of the state, is not to do all 10 on the first year, because we are going to be implementing this hopefully. And so we are looking at is these 5 components or domains that are listed here. Domain 2, guidance, and then Domain 3, counseling, which are actually under the direct services, which we will continue to assess those throughout the years, because that is, of course, what it directly impacts our students. Domain 9, the professional behavior. Domain 10, professional standards. And then Domain 1, we would add it because that is something that we're working really diligently on our program management, and also keeping our data and actually following up with our set bills and being compliant with that. And so that is what we're proposing, that these 5 domains would be the ones that we start assessing our counselors under and with. And so why the TEMC3, and why is it? Because, of course, it aligns with the Texas Education Code, which is what outlines the counseling program. It, of course, aligns with a comprehensive counseling model. It supports and details the counseling services, the roles, the responsibilities of our counselors. And, of course, it aligns with our Senate bill and the requirement of that 80% of the time that counselors are spending should be within what the state is requiring, which is those 4 components, which is our guidance, responsive, individual, and then our system support. And so what would be our next steps? And of course, with anything that's new, we would, of course, do some professional development, some PD, not only for our counselors, but also for our appraisers or our administrators. And so that would be, of course, giving them an overview of the statutes, of the roles and the responsibilities that fall under those statutes. And then, of course, the Senate Bill 179, and understanding that and what are those components that we must be, again, attaining that 80%. And then, of course, how do we use the tool, right? And so that's something that would be part of the PD that we would provide for them, is how to use this tool to evaluate our counselors. And so that is what we're proposing, and hopefully considering that we move towards this evaluation piece or tool for our counselors in the district. Any questions?
I do have a question.
Yes.
Who's gonna do this, this evaluation, the principal?
The principals, right now, that's, yeah, and that'll remain. It's still the principals that use the tool that we currently have, and so it would be
They're
the
gonna get
principal.
training on it?
Yes, ma'am. Mhm.
Thank you.
Yes.
I move.
Second.
Now we have a motion to approve TEMC3 for the current school year. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Consider approval of purchase of news, ELA, RLA, supplement online resources and professional development.
Yes, thank you. So last year during TASA, this is one of the sessions that I had the privilege of attending, and we brought this opportunity back to our school district. We were able to get a pro rate and see that the teachers would be able to work with it and find value in this new online program. So last year we prorated between January and May. So this year we want to go ahead and move forward with providing this service for our teachers in addition to professional development. But we are finding that this Newsela is directly aligned with our new Start 2.0. So we're finding some value in it, teachers are loving it, and it's definitely gonna help them with the planning and the delivery for next year's preparation. So we're asking the board to approve.
And this is aligning with our Sistema Go
Yes,
standards.
yes. So Newsela has a lot of current events, and if you look through them, it's not just reading, but they're looking at cross-curricular, something that our commissioner back in January when he visited with us at Region 20, he shared how important it was going to be for students to be reading not just the old poetry and the old literature, but as well for them to be very much aware of the current events. So as soon as you look at Newsela, you can look at specific topics, and even current trend data, current trend information. So Newsela has been very meaningful and just helpful. And so this year already, we went ahead and incorporated our curriculum documents as another resource that the teachers can go ahead and use. Instead of them having to research and look for more, Newsela has all those components. So we're asking for the board to approve.
I move.
Second.
We have a motion to second the board approve the purchase of the Sella online supplemental resource and professional development for the following year. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Consider approval of 2022-2023 purchase from Apple Inc.
Yeah, so last year we brought before the board, the purchase of a lab for audiovisual program of study at Southwest Legacy High School. This year we want to be able to provide an additional lab for photography under the audiovisual program of study. So now we will have 2 labs with Apple Max available for the students to be able to create and prepare the projects.
I move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, the board approves the 2022-2023 purchase from Apple Inc. as presented. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Consider approval to renew purchase of online instructional programs for the following school year.
So we have been very intentional with looking at what programs, the usage, the student outcomes as well. So what we have here is some online programs that we have found some huge benefits. And in addition to that, there are some state adopted and state required components that we do with these online programs. So we're asking for the board to approve our online programs.
I move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the renew purchase of online instructional programs for the following year. Any questions?
Have we ensured that all of these programs are still being effective and widely used?
So, for example, if we go down the line is, we presented a study also to senior staff. We are looking at the usage. Some of them we've used just for, let's say, remediation and for additional instruction and enrichment. But just if we look at Ingenuity itself, it is our credit recovery program that we've used for years. Imagine Learning has been our go-to when it comes to Tier 2 and Tier 3 math, which has been a celebration point here for Southwest. Achieve 3000 is only a high school reading recovery program that closes the reading gaps. Amplify is a must. It's a screener that is required for dyslexia and just for reading screeners that we have to have. So iStation is also another requirement by the state. We have to use, the way we screen K1 and 2 students in 3rd grade, we also have to screen 7th graders. So Amplify does not have that. For No Reading, it has been really a good resource. It helps for the teachers not have to read every single paper in middle school and high school, but it creates assessments, it creates reading and writing assessments that are at the fingertips of the teachers. And it also helps with the reading and writing skills for our students.
We want to bring
That's the
back more
benefit.
data in Brown Bag to show
Yes.
the number of participants in some of these integrated curriculum or technology programs. And so we talk about return on investment of these programs, not just doing them and have them. So we do have that data, but it's taken us a while to get through it. We can do it either September or October, or wants to, it's really good thing to look at.
Yeah, because I remember us discussing about some of the programs that weren't used, and I was just.
Yeah, so the ones that are being mentioned are state-approved programs, and then we also have some campus programs that we're also looking at some data just to see also the benefits and again, the return of investment.
Thank you. We could have a motion and a second. Any other questions?
I just want to say that the return on investment is a B rating.
Yay.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, before I go into closed session, Lloyd, you read?
Big morning. We have our convocation tomorrow morning. There's been a lot of folks over there working very hard. Looks beautiful. High school mall. We're excited to do something in person this year. So there's a lot of excitement. You have in front of you one more thing. There were some other events taking place. I want to thank the folks who have really kind of organized. We have got our elementary, meet the parents on the night, and we have our middle school on the night. You have it in front of you there. But I do want to take a moment out and want to identify Dalila Garcia, her leadership in CNI, but all leaders of all divisions, our principals, and especially our teachers in the classroom. We can be very proud of where our district is when it comes to student outcomes and results, and we look at that. Mr. Bernal did say we made a B. I like to say we're 4 points away from an A. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
No doubt, these things that Leela with our sustainable goals. I think everything is just in a position, I want to say north, not say south, a good south position to make sure that we do things. So I think we're in top quadrant, been there year after year after year, and that's something we're proud of. Now we just need to take that next step. But just want to commend everyone who's a big part of making that happen. It's just not teachers, it's whatever your job, whatever your role is, everything's a contribution towards lifting our students to the next level. So, yeah, thank you.
Before I go to closed session, I just want to thank the audience for hanging in there. I know it hasn't been one of the most exciting meetings, but we've accomplished what we needed to accomplish. With that said, the state of Texas Government Code, Bacal 1.074 and Bacal 1.072, move on to closed session. Call this meeting back in order at 7:53, and we'll go back to item. Oh, save the pages, not numbered. Consider approval of superintendent's recommendation on personnel administrative employment resignations, reassignments, leave of absences, and contract renewals.
I move that we approve the superintendent's recommendation on all those things you said.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. One more thing, no more?
No, appreciate all your time, appreciate really great staff working on a daily basis. We look forward to seeing everyone in the morning, bring you glow.
Bring your glow.
Smile, and it promises to be a really great time. We do not have a keynote this year. We have 3 keynotes, and they are alum, and we think it's time for our teachers to see what they create from their folks and their teachers.
Who's coming?
Jen, George Knight, and Dr. Vargas.
Oh, Dr. Vargas. Nice.
And then
That's my cousin.
there'll be a
It
little
is.
special thing at the end that we're going to do to start a new kind of element of our convocation. I didn't come to you guys, like, what, you're gonna fire me? But I think I like it. We're gonna start a Educator Lifetime Achievement Award.
Oh.
Nice.
And we're
What's
still doing our
the-
pillars? We're still
Our
doing
pillar will be there,
pillars and our friend.
and our pillar, I mean, you guys don't have to, just sit here and keep on. Our pillar is Mr. Dan Gonzalez. Dan Gonzalez, kind of held from the 80s and 90s, was like a fixture in Southwest High School, band booster. Well, Richard knows him a lot better than I do. And everywhere you went, there for a period of a couple of decades, he was the guy making it happen, supporting the one flagship band we had at the time, and a number of other volunteer activities that he's done. But just a guy that's always been on, folks who've been here for a long time, a guy you want to bring back and really show him the gratitude and appreciation
That's
for
wonderful.
all the years that he helped all of our youth. Did I leave anything out, Richard? You know, so he's going to be our pillar, and I think he'll be a great one.
Okay.
Starts at 8:30. We're asking everyone to be in our chair by 8:50, and we
It's scheduled to go through
Will do.
11:30.
We have it on paper ending at 10:35.
Oh, wow, that's
Yes.
awesome.
So yes, you're right, 11.
Yeah.
And let's say we're not having elections. Y'all remember
No,
that.
we're trying to limit some things because, you know, we're not completely out of COVID. We're acting more normal than we ever have, and so there's so much going on, and we haven't done it in a few years that we thought that's probably a kind of a far reach, and maybe we just do convocation and get everyone spread out and get schools together. There will be parking for all trustees in the front of Southwest High School. The main entrance where the majority of folks are gonna be the student side. There's an activity as you come through that side. So if you make your way in and you wanna go see what the staff is walking through, go through the ROTC hallway right there. I think you'll be satisfied. Doesn't leave anything out?
Good? We good?
Yep,
Good.
that's good.
Meeting adjourned at 7:57. Thank you.